I'm ready to slash and burn.
No quarter. I am going to be uncomfortable and all over you from start to finish.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And if you love dinosaurs and robots, yes, then this is the perfect show for you to be watching right now, because I am back with Ben from Terrortops to talk about, well, BattleBots in general and talk about that awesome match versus Slammo.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yes, because the last time I talked to you was pre-filming, when nothing had happened yet. And obviously there's definitely some things we can't talk about yet, but I definitely want to get your perspective, you know, because we talked about, like, you know, what do you think about like BattleBots and like getting to go and all this stuff. But now that you've been there and you've done it, you know, first of all, like, first impressions, because you know, like, people have to remember, and I think they talked a little bit about this on the show, maybe, that, you know, you were a fan of BattleBots, and then
I was
like
a spectator a couple years ago.
yes, and now you're doing it, you know, and as someone that, you know, I'm not building robots, but I mean, this was my first time going to BattleBots live and actually getting to like be in there with builders and stuff, and it was a very cool experience.
Yeah, it honestly still doesn't feel like it happened. It, like, I only remember again, oh, that was real when I see myself on the television. it it was crazy because, like, as a kid I grew up building, like, it was Robot Wars for me because I'm English, but Lego Razor and Hypno Disc. And now, like, just today I saw online someone had built a Lego Terrortops, and it's crazy how full circle it goes.
Yes, exactly. You know, how was it for those first few days, just kind of getting there and getting set up and, you know, being around all of these builders like you've watched on TV? What was that like for you?
It was very surreal, but also went surprisingly smooth. Like, walking from, because first we got COVID tested, and my sister, my co-captain, who is my sister, actually tested positive for COVID for the first few days. But it turned out it was because she had a like clogged nose, clogged sinuses. As soon as she took some stuff to just clear up sinuses, she tested negative again, and it was fine. But she's our electrician, so we didn't have her for safety testing, which was a bit of a worry. But luckily we passed it all first try. We didn't have to do any changes. So that was lucky. But yeah, it was so surreal walking to, like, from the COVID test to get our wristband. There's just saw blades sitting on that table. and like, that's, I still don't believe it happened. I keep saying, but
It is pretty crazy. You know, even for myself, after having done a number of interviews and talking to people, going there and actually seeing them in person and being like, I'm actually at BattleBots was a little bit interesting.
I mean, even when I used to go and watch it sometimes, I mean, I found that in of itself surreal, just watching the fight. So it is crazy. And like, we were pitted right next to Whiplash in the pits, which firstly was very helpful for us being a lifter robot. But also, like, that's Whiplash. That's the robot we base so much of our robot on, and they're just right there. And yeah.
Well, and the Vasquez family are just such nice, very helpful people. So I would say you got a pretty good deal there.
Yeah, for sure. We were in between them, Gigabyte, and Shredderator. So a lot of veterans, a lot of help. Yeah.
Now, I'm also curious, as you know, having been on a team that wasn't selected to be part of like the main tournament, was that harder for you to, know, okay, when am I going to get a match, because it's more just like these kind of exhibition matches?
We were given a schedule like everyone else. We were given, you'll fight this time on Saturday and like all that type of stuff. But our opponent kept changing. Like at different points, I think we were told we would fight literally every single other alternate at different points. And then it was also a kind of mixed feeling, because obviously I don't want anyone to fail. Like I want everyone to do best they can. It would be really sad if anyone's robot stopped working, but at the same time I want to get fights and want to get in there. So it's complicated feelings, and and like also scary and also good, I guess. I think it was good for us to be an alternate this year to get a proper taste of things, because like I've said before, it was our first ever combat robotics event. But also scary because at any point we could just be subbed in for someone and go against a crazy robot. Like when we were queuing for a Slammo match, they said, "Oh yeah, you guys are gonna fight Death Roll," and we just said, "No, we're not. That's not who we're here to fight." And Craig also came over and said, "No, you cannot put them against Death Roll," because that would, when we're fully set up to fight a non-kinetic weapon, to put us against one of the biggest kinetic weapons is quite the ask. But yeah.
Yes, I would be scared as well if somebody told me that I was going to fight Death Roll. So I completely understand there. But how, like, let's talk about that match, because first of all, I want to talk about like just that initial experience of coming out of the tunnel and everything, and there's the crowd there, and again, like surreal stuff that had to be just a really crazy feeling.
It really was. Like we heard, I didn't quite catch the Farouk intro, and sadly they didn't show it on the show, but I just hearing him shout Terrortops and then walking out, there were some actual Terrortop signs there, which I didn't expect, being a rookie robot and an alternate. And we actually got kind of used to it, because for that fight we walked out 3 separate times. Because there was a lot of behind the scenes shenanigans with that fight on our end, because of course nothing went wrong in testing, but as soon as we put it in the box, one of our drive sides, the sprocket inside, snapped, the keyway of it. So they said we were fully in, fully ready. Robots activate. Red team, are you ready? And we just see our robot veer off to the right as the right side chain snaps. And so we say, wait, we're not ready. What do we do about this? Because like I don't know. I've never seen that happen before. They obviously don't show on the show what happens when a team isn't ready, when they say red team ready. But they let us wheel it out. But they didn't make us. We should have just gone to the pits to work on it, but they kind of encouraged us to work on it just outside the arena to get it ready in time. And this was on the day of the worst Vegas dust storm of the whole event. And so we got the sprockets welded instead of just keywayed. So they were all good. Got it back in the box. We did our twitch test. And then it didn't turn on. So we did the whole walkout again, got it in, didn't turn on, and we just didn't know what had happened. And it turned out that Dust had short-circuited all 3 of our Vex BB speed controllers. Static goes like that. So we then spent the whole rest of the day redoing all our wiring, re-putting in everything, reprogramming it, until we finally got to do the match. For perspective, we were the first fight, meant to be the first fight in the morning session. We ended up being like the second to last fight in the evening session.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. Yeah, we definitely got a taste of doing fast repairs.
Yes, yeah. And like this, I think this is really interesting though for fans to hear, because like this is what you don't see on TV. Like what you see, that it's not always in the right order. You know, sometimes the match has to be restarted a couple of, like, you never know. There's so much that can happen.
Yeah, and it just makes me think like how many other times something like this has happened that they don't show, because we can't have been the only one.
No, definitely not. So, you know, you ended up fighting Slammo, which, you know, is a bit daunting just because Craig is a veteran of the sport. I personally love Slammo. I think that it's great, and it has like the whole suplex action and all of that. But you managed to get under them, and like I was excited. Sorry, Craig. I was excited because it showed, like, you know, kind of what we talked about in the last interview, is how far like Terrortops was supposed to work. And it showed like that in action. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what I was expecting it to do.
Yes, that's exactly what we thought when fighting. But yeah, it was definitely daunting pulling Slammo as our alternate to fight, because they're the only alternate with experience in the box. I mean, Craig with Slammo got top 32 a couple years ago. Which was definitely daunting. And I mean, he just podium placed at Motorama or something earlier that year, something like that.
It was, I forget, I can't think of the name of the event. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but
something like that, or Robo Challenge or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, so it was definitely the most experienced bot to go against. But it was also probably the best shaped robot for us to go against, in that it was a boxy robot, right? Like Slammo, their main chassis is a box, which is exactly what most robots are in the competition, but they're one of the only alternates with that shape, which Terrortops is designed to fight. But yeah, when we first, I mean, it was like 3 seconds in when we got under Slammo and lifted them up, and the robot did exactly what it was meant to do. And that was a really good feeling. One thing I did want to say, to make sure I say, and I'll do it now so I don't forget, is the show got it wrong. I was not driving. My sister was driving the robot. I was operating the weapons. So all credit to her for the good driving you see. But funny thing with that is, after the first hit, she has control of the drive on her controller and also the lifter up and down. So it was the plan for her to fully control the lifter through the fight. After that first hit, when we stop a bit, you see us like stop behind Slammo. That's her turning to me and going, okay, you need to put the lifter down after I hit. I can't do that. And so mid-fight, we change how the dynamic works, and that's a bit fun.
It is, because sometimes, you know, it's those spur of the moment decisions when you're in it, that can kind of make things interesting. And it was, I mean, like the way that match ended up, like at the very end, were you expecting anything like that?
I don't think we were. I mean, our spinner is only designed to really go through the undersides of robots. And later when we went and talked to Craig, he showed us and told us that it went through their, I think it was 1/4 inch AR 500 front plate, and then 1 inch of aluminum, and then a 3/4 inch air gap, and then we hit their weapon motor from that last hit. And that's crazy
that is crazy. I mean, that shows that is a powerful weapon. So that it was definitely it was exciting, you know. And was it one of those things, you know, because I think now that we have like all the rule changes and stuff like that, I mean, obviously he's sitting there, you could have given him a nudge, but I'm not sure.
We were definitely thinking of it. I like turned to him to ask, hey, do you want us to like knock you down? I think I said, or something, but I think he was already taking the controller off. But also I hadn't noticed right away, but I hadn't noticed before I asked that our spinner had stopped after that hit, and ended up it came back on before the end of the fight. But when we saw our spinner had slowed down, we just backed off. We didn't want to keep going with that. But it turns out, and we didn't find this out till after the entirety of BattleBots, we figured out how to deal with it. But the speed controllers, the things controlling our weapon motors, they thought they were still in an electric scooter. So it thought, oh, I just had a massive crash. I need to cut power or this person's gonna die. And yeah, so every time we did a big hit, our weapon would just cut out. And we'd have to throttle down, throttle back up. So it wasn't too bad to deal with, but yeah. Yeah, we definitely, I think also because it was the first fight, we didn't really want to let him down. But I think now if that happened again, we would nudge him down with our lifter, and then yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you never know. Some people have like poked a little bit and then regretted that decision, but at the same time, you want to have as good of a fight as you possibly can. So yeah. Now, obviously we can't talk about any other fights that you may or may not have yet, but would you say overall, like, I'm sure it was, I mean, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but that, going to BattleBots was a really big learning experience, that you were able to take away a lot from that?
For sure. I mean, even in that short fight, like, it was what, 40 seconds a minute or something? We learned, sorry, Craig, we learned so much about how the robot works. And a lot of like little lessons. For instance, don't drive into a spinning robot. Because when Slammo was just spinning round, right, we kind of slammed into them with our lifter. That they hit our lifter into our spinner sideways. So our lifting arms went sideways, and our bolts, well, no, the nuts on the ends of them were on the inside. So it sheared off like the entire side of bolts on one of our arms for the front forks. So from then on, firstly, we put the bolts on the other side, so it had more clearance in the middle. But I mean, at least we learned lifter can take a hit.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. Like it just had to be a really awesome experience. I'm also curious too, like, you obviously were pitted by the, Team Whiplash. Was there anybody else in particular that you felt was really helpful to you while you were there?
Andrea from Witch Doctor, when we that day when Vex ESCs blew up, we went along down a chain of like 5 people all saying, oh, we don't really use Vexes anymore, you should speak to this person. And that just kept going until we reached Andrea, because we were having some weird problems with them not like syncing. And so she came down and helped us for a while to get those working back for the fight. So yeah, definitely big thank you to Andrea and Team Witch Doctor.
That is awesome. And I think that's why it's like so helpful that all of the bots are so different, because more than likely, if you're having a problem, somebody is going to have like that knowledge or that setup to be able to give you that help.
For sure. That's definitely why one of the reasons we built our bot around already tested like ways of doing things. We used for Vex BBs, a lot of teams use, lots of teams have experience with. We used long mags and the same like brushless motors a bunch of teams use, and yeah, it was so much help from just the people in the pits. It was great.
And then another thing that I'm curious about is just like, because from what I saw after that match, there were I would say a lot of fans that I saw like in the online forums really excited about Terrortops. How was it to like get that kind of fan response? Because I mean, that's what you want, because the fans, they like it, and then BattleBots is like, maybe we should bring that Terrortops robot back next season.
Yeah, hopefully it's a full competitor. But yeah, it was amazing seeing the fan reception of it, because before our showing there were lots of like little doubts here and there about, oh, can a rookie team get by with such a like intricate combo move of using a lifter and a spinner? And then after that happened, there was tons of, oh my god, they actually did it. It did the thing. I saw posted a lot, and like, why aren't they a full-time bot? Which isn't BattleBot's fault why we're not a full-time bot, by the way. Our original design we entered with was very boxy, I'd say. We didn't have any of the dinosaur theming. And then we got the denied letter, and that same day added all the dinosaur theming, and then sent that to Greg, and Greg said, this is sick, and you're as a backup reserve. And then a few days later we were a full reserve. So we're lucky to have gotten in. Don't be mad at BattleBots for not letting Terrortops in.
I mean, I will say personally, I think that the whole dinosaur theme is a definite win.
Yes, for sure.
So I'm glad that you did that, because it seems to be really popular.
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy the fan reception we've got. Everyone seems to love it, and that's amazing.
Well, that's awesome. I'm excited about that. There's lots more things to come this season, so yes. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Leave it at that. We can't talk about what else happens or might happen or
might happen. It's exactly. I'm gonna
don't read into it.
I'm gonna pull what we was a common theme on my interview with Monsoon last season, is we're gonna say like hypothetically,
hypothetically.
But yeah, so that's awesome. And then I want to make sure that I let you do this, because I'm doing this with all the teams now, that if you want to plug your sponsors and say like who to thank for Terrortops, please go ahead and plug your sponsors.
Sure. We had big help from 1010 Games. They were big sponsors, so big thank you to you. They're making a Funko Pop game, which should be fun. And then also Rick's Welding from Torrance, California, next to Long Beach. They did all the welding for our wedges, those beautiful wedges you see in the pictures. So big thank you to all of you, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone who watches this show and subscribes and supports and everything else, because I say this every time, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but support Combat Robotics. It's awesome. There could be no over support. Just keep supporting. It's awesome. Just keep watching, comment, all of that good stuff. And thank you again, Ben, for joining me. Always enjoy having you on the show.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. We'll see everyone next time.
Yeah.